Who is talking about cryopreservation?
Good morning, sir. I will be delivering a small talk on sperm cryopreservation. Sperm cryopreservation is a procedure that makes it possible to stabilize the cells at cryogenic temperatures. The cryopreservation of human spermatozoa, introduced in 1960s, has overcome many space and time limitations, and it is now the backbone of many ARTs. The indications are preservation of fertility before radio and chemotherapy in malignancy cases. In countries in which heterologous fertilization is allowed by law and in donor insemination programs, cryopreservation is necessary to have enough time to screen donors for infectious agents such as HIV and HBV viruses before the cryopreserved sperm is used for clinical purposes. In azoospermic patients who have undergone testicular sperm extraction or percutaneous epididymal sperm aspiration, sperm cryostorage is also used to avoid repeated biopsies or aspirations. Cryopreservation is routinely performed in patients who, having to start an ART, decide to preemptively freeze the semen sample to avoid inconvenience due to failed ejaculation, often associated with semen collection stress. Male gamete freezing is largely recommended to preserve fertility in those subjects who, for one reason or another, are exposed to potentially toxic agents which may interfere with gametogenesis. Before starting for techniques, I would like to elaborate for the prerequisites which are required for semen cryopreservation. The semen preservation should be processed within 1 hour post delivery. Also, the values of initial sperm motility should be at least 55% at 1 hour after delivery, with most cells in forward motility. Secondly, 4 hours after delivery, decay in sperm motility must be less than 15%. And lastly, no significant decrease in the degree of forward motility at 4 hours post delivery should take place. All this significance is reflected by high correlation found between sperm post-thaw motility and the linear combination of sperm motility. The techniques of cryopreservation are namely.
Can I interrupt here? The sperm count is not important. It's the motility is important, you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The count.
There are two techniques for cryopreservation. One is slow freezing and the other is rapid freezing. In slow freezing, one is manual method done manually, or one is done by computer by data analytical method. It is semi-programmable freezing. In the manual method, it is simultaneously decreasing the temperature of semen from 5 to minus 80 degree while adding a cryoprotectant in a stepwise manner, and after plunging the samples into liquid nitrogen at minus 196 degrees Celsius. The semi-programmable freezing uses the same algorithm. However, it uses a software data analytical to expedite the step. So, by using the semi-programmable freezing, you don't have to do manually all the procedures. Controlled in manner, computer does it. So, it has a better reproducibility of the samples. However, some authors argue that conventional slow freezing, either manual or automated, causes extensive physical and chemical damage to the sperm, probably because of ice crystallization formation. The second is rapid freezing, proposed by Sherman. It requires direct contact between the straws and liquid nitrogen vapors for 8 to 10 minutes, and immersion in liquid nitrogen at minus 196 degrees Celsius. The sample are mixed in dropwise manner with equal volume of cold cryoprotectant, which is usually a glycerol. Mixture is loaded into straws and left to incubate at 4 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes. The straws are then placed at a distance of 15 to 20 centimeter above the level of liquid nitrogen for 15 minutes. After this stage, the straws are immersed in liquid nitrogen. Drawbacks are low reproducibility, temperature drop cannot be controlled in rapid freezing method, and the freezing temperature varies considerably between 70 to minus 100 degrees Celsius. This is a technique of rapid cryopreservation where the straws are inoculated and furrowed in liquid nitrogen.
Okay. Are they waiting for admission?
Semen preparation pre-freeze and post-thaw, it is required to remove the dead spermatozoa and also to remove old lymphocytes and RBC, which may act as reactive oxygen species and lead to damage of decrease in semen quality. Actually, a solution is added to the seminal fluid that is denser than seminal fluid and immune cells. but less than sperm. It is centrifuged at high speed, which separates sperm from seminal fluid. After the specimens have been spun, the sperm are concentrated in the bottom of the test tube. The upper layer is seminal fluid and non-sperm cell, which is discarded. The washed sperms are resuspended in a new solution that are used for cryopreservation. Additionally, the seminal fluids and the sperm centrifuge are tested for HIV, and cryopreservation of a small number of spermatozoa is a new technique which has been used nowadays. It is actually the conventional methods are not ideal to cryopreserve small numbers of cells, such as epididymal or testicular spermatozoa. Thus, cryopreservation novel techniques have been used. These techniques are inoculating the sperms in empty zona pellucida or in micropipettes or in alginate beads or in cryoloop. They have many advantages and disadvantages. Most commonly used is empty zona pellucida technique for preservation of small number of spermatozoa. Cryoprotectants are used in this method. They are actually low molecular weight and highly permeable chemicals used to protect spermatozoa from breach damage by ice crystallization. Four well-known cryoprotectants are primarily used. These are glycerol, ethylene glycol, DMSO, and 1,2-propanediol. Cryoprotectants acts by decreasing the freezing point of a substance, reducing the amount of salts and solute present in the liquid phase of the sample, and by decreasing ice formation within the spermatozoa. Glycerol is the most widely used. It acts on membrane structure and stabilizes the membrane layer and provides permeability. The drawbacks is alteration in acrosomal internal membrane, nucleus inhomogeneity, and disorganization in mitochondrial crash. The thawing procedure is equally, it is an important step. The cell must be allowed to recover its normal biological activities, trying to avoid abrupt thermal changes. At present times, these are the thawing techniques used. Thawing at room temperature at 10 minutes and subsequent thermostat path at 37 degrees Celsius for another 10 minutes. Thawing in a thermostat and water bath at 37 degrees for 10 minutes, or thawing at room temperature for 15 minutes. Once the semen is thawed, it is separated from cryopreservation medium by washing in cultural medium and centrifuging. Detrimental effects of cryopreservation on sperm integrity. Compared with other cell types, spermatozoa seems to be less sensitivity to cryopreservation damage because of the high fluidity of the membrane and the low water content. Despite this, cryopreserve have its deleterious changes of sperm structure and function. The primary cause of cellular damage during cryopreservation is formation of ice crystals, which leads to dehydration and shock. DNA damage also occurs while cryopreservation. The freezing thawing procedure, it affects DNA integrity. Also, it causes DNA fragmentation through oxidative stress, formation of reactive oxygen species, and DNA repairing enzymes and enhancement of defects already present in sperm cells. They are amplified. Disruptions of mitochondrial membrane potential as well as activation of caspase. Cryopreservation is widely known to impair sperm motility and decrease fertilization rate through detrimental effects on membranes, acrosome structure, and acrosin activity. The freezing thawing procedure is also detrimental to chromatin structure. IUI and conventional IVF with frozen thawed spermatozoa resulted in lower pregnancy rate compared with insemination with fresh samples. This is the reason why cryopreservation of semen samples before IUI or IVF is not recommended. However, in case of ICSI, as very less quantity of motile sperms are needed, they have found that cryopreservation is not detrimental for ICSI. So, it is recommended before ICSI. Testicular spermatozoa, there have been a study by Fiedler. It reported no statistically significant difference in all parameters and on between ICSI cycle with fresh or cryopreserved testicular spermatozoa from the same patient. Almost all the authors have reported the same results, that frozen testicular spermatozoa results are comparable with as compared to fresh testicular spermatozoa in ICSI method. For epididymal spermatozoa, the authors have reported that clinical pregnancy rate in ICSI was comparable between fresh and frozen epididymal spermatozoa. However, there was a recently studied by Shibara. It stated that there was a significant difference in reproductive parameters between ICSI with fresh or cryopreserved epididymal spermatozoa. For ejaculated spermatozoa, the authors actually didn't report any statistical significant difference in fertilization rate between the two groups. However, this data shows that value of pregnancies are significantly higher in ICSI patients when sperms are cryopreserved. Actually, this may be due to cryopreservation selectively affects defectives rather than normal spermatozoa. It indicates that cryopreservation before ICSI might be helpful to eliminate senescent and deficient spermatozoa, thus therefore improving reproductive outcomes. Recently, a study was there from Borges and group. It demonstrated that using semen with normal motility, the reproductive outcome obtained using fresh and thawed are same. However, if the semen is with decreased motility, the reproductive outcome with fresh was higher than the cryopreserved one. But in both the groups, no difference was detected in implantation and pregnancy rate. To conclude the talk, in the field of cryopreservation, actually there has not been an agreement till date whether cryopreservation affects sperm chromatid integrity or not. And the unique and functional universal protocol freezing thawing procedure is also not agreed upon. Further investigation are needed to fully understand the real influence of cryopreservation on DNA integrity and the impact of use of cryopreserved sperm on reproductive outcomes. Technical measures should be applied to provide maximum protection to male gamete, appropriate use of cryoprotectants before and sperm collection technology after cryopreservation seems to have the greatest impact on preventing DNA fragmentation, thus improving cryosurvival.
You mentioned a point that cryopreservation is not preferred when you are doing IUI or IVF, but okay for ICSI.
Yes,
why is that? I mean, supposing somebody does have sperm which is preserved, you can't take it. Everybody may not be able to produce a good quality sperm, so they preserve it, isn't it?
Yes, sir. In ICSI, actually, the very few numbers of motile sperms are required. So, the study has proved that even for cryopreserved sperm, actually, it is good results for cryopreserved sperm than using fresh sperm. However, in IUI and IF, if we use fresh sperms, the results are better.
I guess fresh sperm, the results are always better, isn't it? In whichever technique you have.
Only in IUI and IVF, if we use fresh sperms, the results are better. In ICSI, it is the opposite. If cryopreservative sperms are used, then the results are better. Seen in the.
Is there since you read, I want to ask you: is there any law, WHO or some world law that says that you cannot tweak the DNA of the sperm? I mean, you could do all sorts of engineering now with the sperm, isn't it? You've got it all there, and you can fiddle with the DNA, and you can fiddle with anything you want. Is there anything that's possible? Is there any law come like that so far?
I will come across. I will check in later.
I mean, we've gone to this extent because all this is taken from the animal world. Most of the cryopreservation and all these things is taken from animal husbandry. Yes. And it's advanced in a very great level. Again, all this speaking goes on. No, it's some fellow can do some hairy and do engineering with the DNA, and you can produce a monster or you can produce something else. You never know. So I just want to know whether there's any law like that so far.
I will check it.
What is the Indian government? Any law in India about all this?
No. I'm not aware of it. I will check the laws of India. And
is there any specific lab which that is cryopreserving or anything?
Yeah. But there is.
All of these labs are doing for. Private. Labs are doing it for oocytes and stem cells.
Majority of the labs, sir. Means they are also marketing it.
Right.
SRL and all. And nowadays, I think the latest fad is to cryopreserve your ovum by the time you're 23, 24.
Okay, so that future if you want you can.
No, because I think females are getting married late after
Yes,
30.
yes.
So then, by the age of 30, almost 70% of the ovum is empty. I mean, ovary is empty of the follicles. So that is the reason why it seems. Even I was surprised to know that by the age of 30, most of the ovarian follicles are dysfunction. Only 20% are viable to produce new ova.
Sure. So that data is there anyway. The older you are, the less chance. I guess this also happens the longer the marriage and period of fertility in the marriage, the less is the chance for.
Yes, sir.
Be interested in seeing what the laws of this country are because